Hi, I'm Dawn, and this is where Shabby meets Bling.
This is Last Thing Thrifted. I'd like to thank my co-hosts, Monica from Up All Night DIY, Shelly from Repurposed My Way, Annie from Crafting with Indiana Jones, Jody from Jody at Southern Seasons, and Marika from Marika Creations. You're going to find the links to their channels and this playlist in my description box below. Well, this project started, like so many others, while I was thrifting. I was at Goodwill and I saw this candlestick. It was $3.99. It's solid wood. And hey, right there you can't go wrong. Did you see how intricate this thing is? Look how pretty. I mean, look at the detail. And I knew instantly what it was. So I was super excited to get this thing home and start working on it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the base off right here, right there. And I'm just going to use my coping saw to do it. This is round, so it'll roll on the chop saw, and it is uneven, meaning laid on its side, the bottom is bigger than the top. So you're not going to get as clean cut as you could if you stabilize it with clamps. You know how I feel about my handy dandy clamps. So I'm going to clamp my little candlestick as tight as possible, and I'm going to use my coping saw, and I'm just going to rotate the coping saw and the candlestick around and around and around until I get this off nice and clean, because this bottom has got to go. That doesn't mean I'm not keeping it. You know better. You know better than that. I already have a few kind of vague ideas for the bottom already, but that is down the road. Kick that can and focus on the job at hand, Dawn Jones. Get it together, woman. We got some coping to do. Within just a couple of minutes, that bottom pops right off nice and clean, just like I wanted it. And this is what we're left with. These two pieces, that beautiful top part, and look at that base. Oh, can't you imagine some fun things you could do with that? I see many things in my crazy head, but like I said, for another time. Now we need to focus on that upper part. It needs a top. A bottom. You know what I mean. In this week's production of Dawn Cuts Things Up, we have fence post finial playing the part of Owlhead. It's a finial for a fence post, but not today, my friends, not today. It is going to be the head of the character I'm creating. But before I can do anything, I need to get this dowel screw out, and it came out relatively easy with some pliers. One more step for this little finial before I can use it. It is going to the chop saw, and it will get cut right there, because all I need is that little top part. And you know darn well, I'll keep the rest. Back to my candlestick. I am going to make the base of this look like a tree. The base, the top, whatever, it's going to be upside down. You know the way I do. You know the way I do what I do. I'm weird, so I see things upside down and sideways. And this little tree is going to morph into an owl, and my little owl is going to be sitting on this branch. And this is just a wired Christmas branch. It actually has like a little bit of glitter and stuff on it, but that's here nor there because it will get painted later. But I need to drill a hole through this part of my candlestick so I can feed my little branch through there that my little owl is going to sit upon. Well, I have to tell you, I am on an owl kick right now. Don't know why. This is going to be a little girly owl, and her name is Owlivia. Yeah, Owlavia, Owlivia. If you're into owls like I am, you can check out this video. This is where I created Ollie, my vintage-inspired Halloween bucket. So I have a nice, smooth, drilled hole, and so I don't tweak out my wrist, I just slowly increase the size of my drill bits till I get to this point where that little branch is going to slide right on through the base of the tree. I have cut off the bottom part of the finial, and this is what we have, just like that. Do you see the owl? Do you see it? I see it. It's gonna get there for sure, but first I need to drill a hole through the top of the candlestick so that I can get that head into place. Then I drill the same size hole into the bottom of the finial, and then I can connect the two pieces together. I will be using wood glue and a little dowel rod that I cut to fit to secure the two pieces together. I add the wood glue, I add my dowel rod, I tap it into place, and then I'm gonna put it right into the tippy top of my candlestick. But I really wanna make sure I've got enough glue inside that hole that I drilled. That way this thing is going to stay forever. And because the hole I drilled is a little smaller than the dowel rod, by tapping it into place, it will be extremely solid. Once I have it in place, I'm gonna set it aside and let it dry thoroughly. Here she is, nothing to write home about just yet, but our sweet Owlivia is a girly girl and she wants to look pretty. So we're gonna make her some big old owl eyes, yes we are. And I'm gonna use these little tiny wheels that were cut off from a prior project. I have 4 little wheels and I'm gonna pick the 2 best ones, the ones that aren't dinged up in any way, and I'm going to remove them from their little axle, and these are going to become her eyes. Step 1 in owl eye creation is to determine where they are going to sit. They need to be wide enough apart that what I'm going to do next will work, because I'm going to make them bigger. They need to be bigger, and they need to be level with the bottom of the owl base. So I get them lined up, I drill holes for 2 more dowel rods, and I test them to make sure it's going to look right. And then I'm going to wood glue them into place after I cut them down to size, because we don't want these things sticking way out like that. We want them to be flush with the little center of her eyes. Once glued, I tap the dowels into place just like I did with the dowel rod that connects her little tiny head to her little tiny petite body. And I am not at this point going to glue that little wheel on, because there's things that have to happen to those little wheels, and it's going to happen right now. So here's our little eyes, and what's going to surround the little eyes are going to be feathers. Not really feathers, but they're going to emulate feathers. And I'm going to be using these teeny tiny little hearts, these little wood hearts. I purchased them at Hobby Lobby in this box already, and this is a wood pile item. I get out enough hearts to surround both of the little wheels 2 times over, 6 on the bottom and 6 staggered on the top. Once I have my bottom row in place, I begin layering the top row of hearts. I am gluing them into place with my Elmer's Craft Bond all-purpose glue. And as I glue, I make sure they do not move. If they do, I put them back into place, because these little hearts, these little feathers, need to fit tightly, really snugly up against my little wheel. After my first feather ring is complete, I move on to the second. Then I need to set them aside to dry, and they really need to dry well. They are dry, but before I paint them, I am going to put a backer on them, so there is no chance of them coming apart. This is just cardboard. This is that packing cardboard I like to use. I trace both of my little heart feather wheels, and then I will cut these out and then glue them on once again, just using that Elmer's Craft Bond. You can see I've already poked an appropriate hole through that cardboard so it will slide onto that dowel rod. And now we're gonna paint. We're gonna paint the bottom row of hearts in an Art Deco Thrift Flip textile paint. Yeah, it's made for fabric, but I'm using it on wood. So there. I do what I want. I am doing the bottom row, as I said, in this best brown. And then the row that's on top is going to be Raw Sienna, and it is a folk art matte paint by Plaid. These 2 colors, once dry, are very, very similar. There's not much difference, not much variation, but I didn't want a huge contrast, so it works out real well. As you can see, I am using that best brown on both of the layers of hearts right now. It's acting as a base coat for where my raw sienna will be shortly. After I finish painting the little wheel of heart feathers, I will move on to the actual eyes, which I feel need to be gold in color. It's an owl, right? So I am going to be using a folk art matte paint by Plaid, and the color is yellow ochre. This color is so beautiful. It's just a really deep mustardy color. Absolutely love it. Once dry, we move on to the pupil, and of course, it's gonna be black. This is an apple barrel paint by Plaid. Once I have finished the center of both eyes, we are gonna add some detail to the iris. This is that raw sienna again, and I am just making pretty much little stripes, little lines, starting at the center of her eye and running them out to the perimeter. Just little tiny lines to make it look more lifelike. And after this paint dries, I'm gonna come back and add a little white highlight to each eye, and I will glaze them over in the Podge. But it's gonna be a gloss Mod Podge, so they really look lifelike. Yeah. Now I need to make Owlivia some wings, and I'm just gonna sketch a general shape of what I want, and I will use the same template for both wings. Now, I'm going to go through this pretty quick because it's basically the exact same process I used on Edgar. And I will leave a link to the video where I created Edgar in my description box. So if you want to see a little more detail, you can see it there. After I sketch my design, I cut it out and I trace it onto cardboard. I trace 4 wings in all, and then I will cut them out, and then we are going to sandwich them together with wire on the inside. I will be hot gluing a piece of wire at the top of the wing and one at the bottom of the wing, and they will protrude out a little bit on the inside of the wing right there, because that is where I'm going to attach them to Olivia's body. Now this upper wire, you can see a little loop on the end by where the feathers are. I have that little loop because that is how she's going to be able to hold things. I'm doing this in both wings. I also hot glue a piece of cardboard in between to fill the gap between the wires. Then I glue both sides of the wings together. I didn't glue the edges together all the way around the perimeter of the wing because I want dimension. You know how I feel about dimension. And I am going to fill that gap that I left with some inexpensive spackling. Once I have filled all the gaps on both wings, I will set these aside to dry, and I'm gonna let them dry overnight. Next day, and blue's gonna help. That's all I need. That's all I need is this sweet little boy and his fur all over my Podge. Because it sticks and you cannot get it out. If you get cat hair in Mod Podge, oh, it's a nightmare. But what I'm doing now is I'm sealing all of that spackling on the perimeter of my wings. See, there's a hair right there. Thanks, Blue. I am sealing the wings. I am sealing he's got me all flustered. Oh my goodness. Let's try that again. I am sealing the perimeter where I have the spackling with Mod Podge. And this is matte Mod Podge. I'm also giving the entire wing a nice coat as well. Once complete, I will set them aside to dry. And how will they dry? They will dry thoroughly. And then we're going to paint. I am painting both my wings with the black apple barrel paint by Plaid. I have also taken my original template for the wing and cut out some wings in brown paper. Cardboard wings are not dimensional or detailed enough, so I am taking this brown paper and just cutting up through the tip of the wing towards the end of the wing to create a feathery texture. These will get Mod Podged onto each wing, the exterior of each wing, and then they will also be getting painted that black apple barrel paint. If I'm not satisfied with this one paper wing on top, I will add more paper feathers if I need to. Owlivia needs her little ear tufts or plumicorns. Thanks to Linda and all my other viewers that let me know what these little feathery things are called. But I like calling them feathery ear tufts. So that's what we're going to make right now. And it's very similar to the cat ears that I made in this project video. I'll leave the link in the description box. But the way I'm doing this is really easy, a very easy way to create little objects or little protrusions on any kind of item. I am using wire, cardboard, and quick wood to make this happen. I have cut out 2 sets of feathery ear tufts, and now I am creating a piece of wire that's shaped like those feathery ear tufts, and it's going to be longer than my little template because these will get glued, the ends of the wire will get glued onto the side of Owlivia's head. This is the way they will be glued into place, sandwiching the wire in between the cardboard, kind of like the wings. I drill 2 holes on the side of her head where I want my first little feathery tuft to be, and then I will check to make sure my wire is going to fit, and once I'm assured that it does, I will glue it into place with my Elmer's craft bond. Then I glue both those pieces of cardboard onto the wire. I hold them in place until I'm assured that the glue has started to set and these little ear fluffy tuffies made of cardboard won't go anywhere. I then repeat that process on the other ear tuft. Now for the quick wood. I have already gone through the process of kneading the 2 colors together of my quick wood so that it is a uniform color, and now I'm going to apply it onto those little ear tufts. This product will stick. It's quite something. I just need to make sure that all of that cardboard is covered and that the layer that I've applied is relatively flat and smooth. Once I get both little ear tufts covered, I'm going to set this aside to dry, and it won't take long. If you let it sit too long, it gets really difficult to sand, and I don't want that. So I'm going to keep a close eye on it and finish this up, set it aside, let it dry. Before I sand those ear tufts, I am going to give Owlivia's entire little body a scrub down with deglosser because there's a sheen here and I really want to make sure my paint adheres. So I'm getting rid of this glossiness. This is a Rust-Oleum product and I absolutely love it. Once I'm done scrubbing it, I will let it sit for 5-10 minutes, then come back, give it another quick scrubbing, and wash it clean with some warm soapy water and then again with some clear water. Then we need to let the candlestick dry. A nice, quick yet thorough sanding of the ear tufts, and then we finally get to paint. Yes, we get to paint Owlivia. So excited. Right now, poor little girlie, she looks like an odd clown or maybe a very pale Yoda, but that's all gonna change with some paint. I am painting all of Owlivia's body in this black. The same black apple barrel by Plaid. Now, the bottom part, remember, is going to be a tree type of a situation, so it will not get painted black. This is going to be an illusion. It's going to look like Owlivia is just perched in a tree. Once I have the parts painted black that I want, I set her aside to dry, and I'm going to create some more feathers. She needs more feathers. I have created 2 little templates, 2 little pieces that are going to kind of mimic that design that's already on the candlestick, that little scallop. And I will have one that is going to go above that scallop right around her neck, and one of these little pieces will go below it, and it will be staggered. So wherever the 2 of the scallops that are existing on the candlestick come together, one of these will go in between it above it, and one will go in between it below it. Does that make sense? I hope so. I hope so. Once I have all my pieces cut out, I will paint the ones that are going to go on the upper part black, and I will just glue the ones that are going to go below that scalloped ridge right onto Owlivia's body. While I was cutting little pieces of cardboard, I also cut out these teeny tiny hearts. I just traced one of those little tiny wood hearts that came in my woodpile box. These are going to act as little feathers. They're going to come down to her nose and then spread up around over to her feathery ear tufts. They will get painted black and glued into place with my Elmer's craft bond. At this point, she looks a little bit like a bat. Just a little bit. A very cute bat, but a bat nevertheless. Here's what she looks like with that lower row of feathers glued into place and those little heart feathers on her head. I will touch up the feathers on her head with the black as well as painting the new feathers that I just applied. If she's going to be perched in a tree, she needs some little talons, doesn't she? So I am just going to use some wire and I am going to curl, kind of bend, make a little almost like a candy cane shape little piece of wire. The straight part will go into the wood on the base of the candlestick, and the little curved part will curve gently around what is going to look like a branch. I make 6 claws in total, and then I am going to drill some holes in that candlestick. Once I have all 6 little holes drilled, I will glue these little candy cane shaped pieces of wire into place, and I will also touch them up with a bit of black paint. This is the same method I will use to attach her wings and her tail. Speaking of her tail, we haven't made that yet. I'm going to be taking this wood applique that I got on clearance and cutting it in half, and it is going to become her tail. I lightly mark the lines that I want to cut with pencil because I don't want to cut in the wrong place. I'm going to clamp it to my table and I'm going to cut it with my jigsaw. Part of it will be the front of the tail, part of it will be the back of the tail. Once the 2 pieces are cut, I wood glue them together and I'll clamp them and let them dry. Once dried, I will drill 2 holes in my tail and 2 corresponding holes in the back of the candlestick and add a wire, and the wire will be glued into the tail and then glued into the candlestick to hold it in place. I make a teeny tiny little cardboard beak for Owlivia, just like I did for Edgar. 2 pieces, top and bottom. They will be glued into place after they are painted yellow ochre. I am going to turn this hanging metal cone-shaped flower bucket into a tiny little wizard hat. I take off the little handle, which I will keep because I already have a job for that little handle, and I'm going to fill the holes where that handle was at, just with some brown paper and some of my Elmer's glue. The hole on the exterior will be filled with lightweight spackling. I fill the cavity of the little metal cone with styrofoam. I will add a long piece of wire into the styrofoam and it will protrude out. The part of the wire that protrudes out will be glued into the top of Owlivia's head. Ouch. My wire has been added, and I also added a little cardboard cap on the inside to seal away the styrofoam. While playing with the cardboard, I cut out a little moon and 3 little stars, which I will glue onto her now wizard hat, just using the Elmer's craft bond. Once my glue has dried, those little moons and stars are set, I'm going to paint the entire thing in burnt umber. It is a folk art matte paint by Plaid. And once this paint dries, we're gonna get out the glitter. She gonna be so pretty and sparkly. Ooh. I picked up these cute little leaves, fall leaves at Hobby Lobby last year on clearance, and I just happened to find a couple more packages this year. I was complaining they didn't have them, but I found them. And I'm going to be painting these beautiful little leaves in lush green. This is an Americana Art Deco paint. I will also be painting the base of the tree, and that branch I added this lush green. Once dry, I will glue the little leaves onto my branch and to the base of the tree. It'll be so pretty. Another way I use these leaves was in this project. I'll leave the link in the description box. One last detail for Owlivia, I am going to be making her a garland. It will consist of 4 stars from my woodpile container and one of these moons. This set is now available on Etsy. It consists of 6 of these small moons, 6 small stars, and 6 of the vintage style half moons with the little face. So cute. You may remember that vintage moon from this project. I will leave both the Etsy and video links in my description box. I will be painting my moon in a yellow ochre, and I will glitter it with this beautiful combo of glitter. My stars will get painted in the raw sienna and then get covered in this lovely combo of glitter.
Olivia is totally put together. She's put together and she's ready to go out and about and meet all of you.
Just a quick reminder of where we began with this candlestick. And here is Olivia's tail. Remember, this is that applique plus a little bit of cardboard detailing on top, all painted out in that beautiful black. Isn't that something that applique actually looks like a tail? It was wired and glued into place, and the wire was covered with those little cardboard heart feathers. There's the back of Olivia's little wizard hat. The back of her wings, you can see the detail feathers around her neck, her tail, the base, and the branches. Let's get a better look at the base of that tree. This is the front side, and you can see the extra little branch that her little talons are clipped onto, and that beautiful color, that green. Oh, in love, in love. I've created an illusion where you don't quite know where Olivia ends and the tree begins. She just looks like she's perching on a branch. Here you get a little sneak peek of that moon on the garland, but let's look at the whole thing. This time of year, you gotta love some glitter. I know some of you out there don't, but most of us do, and Halloween is a perfect time to let it sparkle. I love the way it looks like she's legitimately holding that garland. That's what those little loops at the end of the wire were for inside her wing, so she could hold anything. I could take this out and put a banner in there. I could have her holding a little trick-or-treat bucket, anything at all. Here you also get a good look at the extra row of feathers I added around her neck and the upper part of her body. The extra layers of feathers also really made her wings look dimensional and like she could really take flight. Here's our sweet little girl. There she is. And those eyes, those big, huge eyes in her petite little face. She no longer looks like a weird clown or a bat or pale Yoda. She looks like a petite, sweet, gorgeous little owl. She says, Who's gorgeous? You are, Owlivia. You know you are. I really had so much fun with this project, and I hope the next time you take a look at a candlestick, you see it different. Something other than a little platform for a candle. Maybe it's a character just waiting to come to life. Thanks again to Monica, Shelly, Annie, Jody, and Marika for joining me for this Last Thing Thrifted. You're going to find the links to their channels and this playlist in my description box below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, share it with your family and friends, and anyone that likes DIYs, thrifting, flipping, owls, vintage Halloween, and Halloween decor. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and don't forget to check out my shop on Etsy. Leave me a comment because I really do love hearing from you. Ring the bell for notifications of all my upcoming videos. Subscribe. It is really a great way to support my channel, and you know you wanna, so just do it. But for now, this is Dawn and Owlivia saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.